started 5-6 years ago when a couple of my patients approached me within a couple of weeks, so I couldn't ignore it at all, with request to give them license to grow cannabis so they can treat their conditions. One guy, he had some rare neurological disease, manifested with muscle wasting, very tired, in pain constantly, on humongous dose of narcotics, and he wanted cannabis for pain and to lose some weight. Another guy wanted it for sleep. My knowledge on cannabis was you smoke, you get high, you eat, you sleep, you repeat, eventually you get on the harder drugs, and that's what we were taught in school and in society. So when they said that, I was shocked. But I felt a sense of urgency in the way they were talking, and I felt that it's very important to them. And then I felt that they trusted me enough to even ask something like that. So I just couldn't say no. So I said, okay, I'm going to go home and I'm going to research, and if there's any merit in what you're saying, I'm going to support you and we'll do it. So I did go home and I Googled it and I PubMed it, and it was just unbelievable. I had 2,000 plus hits. I didn't even know that somebody's researching cannabis. There was research on the plant itself, there was research on mice, on rat, on tissue, on cells, intracells, outside of cells, very little on humans. All human studies were not double-blind randomized. They were 5 patients, 10 patients, 15 patients max. So poor studies, you couldn't really draw any conclusions. There was few good studies with synthetic cannabis, but everything what I read had very good safety profile and had very little side effects, and it was really promising. So I went back and I said, okay, let's do it. So I gave them license, and I asked them. I asked my guy, and I said, well, how many plants do you need? I had no clue how many grams one plant can give. So that was pretty funny. So what I learned that cannabis is called weed for a reason, because it grows up to 6 feet. And by the history and by my patients, you can use every piece of it. You can use roots, you can use the leaves, you can use buds. I think by the November next year, leaves are going to be new superfood or something. We'll be doing it smoothies, you know. And really, I have quite a few patients telling me that leaves have a very strong anti-inflammatory properties. It's not going to get you high, but it's going to help you with your arthritis, and I would guess with fibromyalgia. Bud is what really interests us. Bud has around 500 active chemicals. We know a little bit about 130, and we know a little bit more about THC, CBD, terpenes, and some more. So why is that so important? We as a human have endocannabinoid system in our bodies, and we have receptors, CB1 and CB2. CB1 receptors are in our brain, and THC like CB1, and that's why you get high. CB2 receptors are really very interesting, and they are in your tonsils, in your leukocytes, in your lymph nodes, along the GI tract, and all over the body, really. And I think that's why we have so many indications for use of cannabis. Because it is a little bit funny. You use it for pain, and then you use it for anxiety. What's pain has to do with anxiety? But it does, it does. Also important is that cannabis can be either sativa, which is active form, either indica, which is a calming one, or hybrids called ruderalis. I think like for quite some time now, we have only hybrids. I don't know if anybody knows that of pure sativa or indica. So there is lots of indications why we would use cannabis. And really there is no scientific evidence for almost all of it. So I'm just going to tell you why I use cannabis. Since I'm a pain doctor, I use it for pain. I use it for sleep. I use it for fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome, for MS, for Parkinson's, for anxiety, depression. I have a few patients with a seizure disorder that do it really well. And I have a few patients with Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. That's not my area of expertise, but I'm really surprised how little of CBD oil you need to control your colitis. I have one lady, she's on 0.3 a day, and she is off all very strong medication for that condition, which have terrible side effects. Contraindication, there is a list of contraindications given to us by Health Canada, and I can question every one of those. Age less than 25. Reason for that is that we think that teens don't excel in school. Once they start using cannabis, they lose interest in school and social life. And there is always that stigma that once you start smoking cannabis, then you go to heroin, I guess. But I would question that. I know lots of young people who smoke cannabis to really medicate, to try to help themselves with their anxiety, with their ADHD, or whatever problem they might have. So yeah, there's that. The second one, which is very painful, is bipolar and schizophrenia. We are not allowed to prescribe for those patients, even though I have few patients who self-medicate. And the problem with that is they use only CBD. And if they are buying that in dispensaries, I don't know how many people here go to a dispensary. But what I get from patients is they buy the same thing, they buy CBD, whatever, and then it's wonderful. And then they go buy another batch, and then they have terrible reaction, which means it's not, so they would be much safer if we would be able to prescribe for them. Then, current or past history of cannabis use disorder, I don't even know what it is. Pregnancy, breastfeeding, I would agree with that one because less when you are pregnant, I guess you are better. Significant cardiovascular disease. 2016, huge study came out showing the beneficial effects of cannabis on patients with cardiomyopathy. So I think that's a way, hopefully that will come out. Tobacco use also. Heavy users of opioids, benzos, and alcohol. I would rather have somebody smoke weed than use benzos, opioids, and alcohol. It's just way less damaging for different organs. And anxiety and depression. I just cannot respect that one because I see so much benefit that I do give authorization when patients are asking for those causes. Relationship with cannabis. In the beginning, it was pure fear. I was just terrified. I tried when I was 18, I guess, didn't do anything. So I didn't really think anything about it. So I was really scared. I didn't know. And medical community is not really regulated, so we really don't know what's happening. Then I started seeing great results. I don't like opioids. They are great for pain, for acute pain, but for chronic pain, they have so many side effects, it's so hard to take them. And I saw patients getting off and getting their life, getting their energy, so I loved it. And then I started playing with okay, so you have a lower back pain, so I'm going to give you this much THC, this much CBD, and then guy comes back and says, oh, this works so well, and I'm like, I'm such a good doctor. and then I give the same thing to somebody else, and nothing happens. And they would come and say, well, I just spent $100, and it doesn't work for me, or makes me crazy, or makes me so I guess it was, and that's when I started really hating it and liking it, because I really I would love, you learn about aspirin, you know everything about aspirin, and then you prescribe either 81 milligram or 325. There's no another dose, and I know that patient is going to benefit with that. How do you prescribe weed? I would love to have some kind of guide, some kind of idea that this is going to work for you. I want to help. And this stage is not happening. So a couple of months ago, we went to Copenhagen to the pain conference, and I met people from Israel. And those researchers are doing lots of studies there. One of them being 2,000 plus patients. And they're enrolling daily, and they really they don't control anything. So patients are either smoking or vaporizing or taking edibles. Amount of THC, amount of CBD, it's up to the patients. What researchers are doing, they're just recording, and their results are pretty confusing and amazing. Majority of patients like to smoke, which was huge for me because here we think that vaporizing is better than smoking because you can regulate temperature, you don't get any of the cancerogenic stuff and all of that. But 2,000 people prefer to smoke, must be something in it. I don't know what it is, but it's, take a note of that. And they're taking completely different potions for the same conditions. And hopefully within a couple of years, Israeli will be able to tell us a bit more why is that. But also in that conference, I learned that whole world thinks that Canada is a leader in the cannabis industry. People were asking us, what are we doing? What's the medicine? What's the reactions? What's the strains? And they were taking notes of what Canadians are saying. So I think that's amazing, and I hope we will know what, by the end, we will know what to do, and to do better every time. After coming home, I had more questions than answers. If two plants are not the same, how am I going to prescribe for patients? If two plants are not the same, what amounts I'm going to prescribe? And I'm not trying to control, I'm not trying to tell you what's best for you. I'm just letting patients to do what they think, and if they're willing to spend some money in trying around and looking around, I think I'm okay with that now. So, another thing is women patients. I love you guys here. This is just amazing. But my patients are a different story altogether. It takes me probably 3 times more time and effort to make a woman to take a weed. It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's not even funny. I hear so many times that their partners are not agreeing with taking weed, that they are ashamed of their kids, cats, whatever. It's just we have to work on that. That needs to change. That just makes me so angry. So yeah, that's what I wanted to tell you. But we have to do research. So all of you here who have passion, who have ideas, who have money, please let us do our job. If we do research, if we extract those THCs or whatever, and prove that that works for ABC, stigma is going to go away. You know, it's just hard to fight when you have a good evidence for something. And that's how really all medicine worked. You know, we didn't like things, but then it shows. You can't ignore it. Yeah.